Hello everyone, welcome to today's class. The topic we'll be treating today is agriculture. Agriculture simply means the method in which man cultivates crops or rare animals for consumption. Now let's quickly look at the various components of agriculture. The first component of agriculture is crop production. This is a process whereby man had to cultivate crops for either consumption or sale. Under this component of agriculture, we have food crop production or cash crop production. The food crops are examples of food crops are the rice, beans, maize, and other crops that we consume. While the cash crops are cotton, rubber, cocoa, and the rest, which are exported as a source of revenue to the economy. The second component of agriculture is livestock farming. Under this component, we have man rearing animals for either consumption or sale. We have different livestock that can be reared, like the goats, cattle, rabbits, and the rest. Now, we have examples of rabbitries around us where we have people rearing rabbits or different livestock. It can either be poultry or other livestock that are reared. The poultry farmers rear poultry which can be consumed or sold rather. We have the rabbitry where we have rearing of rabbits that are used for consumption, sales, or they are dropping either urine or other droppings are used as fertilizer or pesticide. Now let's move on to forestry. This has to do with the planting of trees to use as timber or other forms of furniture. The fourth component of agriculture is fish farming. This can also be classified under the livestock farming, but it's separated because fish farming is a little bit different from the other livestock farming. We have examples of fish farmers around us where we have people creating artificial ponds where they rear different species of fish for either consumption or sale. Let's now look at the various systems of agriculture. The systems of agriculture include peasant farming, plantation farming, mechanized farming, and cooperative farming. We are now going to explain them one after the other. Let's start with the peasant farming. The peasant farming can also be called the subsistence farming. This has to do with the farming of crops for a farmer and his family basically for consumption. Now we have pictures showing examples of peasant farmers where we have individuals cultivating parts of their land, probably close to their houses, for production of crops which they use mainly for consumption. We have examples around us where we have our neighbors or even members of our families using a particular portion of land close to the house or even somewhere away from the house where crops are being produced or cultivated for the family consumption. The other type is the plantation farming. The plantation farming has to do with the cultivation of a single crop on a large area of land. This has to do with large-scale farming. It requires mechanized, or rather, it requires large equipment for the harvesting of such crop. Now we have various types of plantation. It can either be plantain, banana, or even tea plantation. The examples we have on this slide are a banana plantation and a tea plantation. Now on this slide, we can see pictures of a banana plantation where we have solely a banana being planted on a large hectare of land. Then we also have the tea plantation also. The next system we are going to be looking at is the mechanized farming. The mechanized farming is also called the commercial agriculture, where majorly crops are produced for sales or for export to other countries. Now, under this type of farming, it requires the use of complex and large equipment. The government can also be involved in this type of farming, where we have examples like state farming, where the government try to organize farmers to help in the production of certain crops for export. Now, on this slide where we have the mechanized farming, we have a picture showing the use of large equipment under the first topic, the first picture we are seeing the harvesting of cotton. Now, these are the ways where we can have a mechanized farming. The last system we'll be looking at is a cooperative farming, which has to do with different farmers pulling their resources together to help in the production of certain crops. They can either come together to pull their resources together or to agree on getting loan from the government. We also have a picture showing different farmers coming together to form a cooperative group. Now let's look at the next slide, which has to do with the importance of agriculture to economic development in West Africa. Now, the first importance of agriculture to Nigeria as a country is that it provides food for consumption. Majorly, the problem we're having in Nigeria is because we decide to remove our focus from agricultural sector to the petroleum sector. Nigeria was majorly focusing on agricultural sector before and after independence, but in the 1970s, during the discovery of crude oil, we decided to shift our focus from agriculture to the production of crude oil, which ends up affecting the agricultural sector. Now, agriculture is very important to development of Nigeria as a country because this will help to boost our food production. Most of the food crop we get in the country are majorly imported from other countries, which does not really help in developing the economy. So we need to look at other sectors of the economy, especially agriculture, to help in the economic development of Nigeria and other West African countries. Another importance is the provision of material for textile production. Agriculture is very important because it helps to provide materials that can be used in most of our industries. Most of the industries that we have, the raw materials used in those industries are mainly gotten from the agricultural sector. Another importance is that it provides employment opportunities to the citizens. Now, we have so many individuals in the country, so many graduates that are unemployed because the industries or the factories that are available in the country are not adequate to employ all the graduates that we are having or that are graduating from institutions each year. Now, if the economy or if the government can decide to look into the agricultural sector and help in boosting the agricultural sector, it will help to provide employment opportunities to the citizens of the country, which will reduce the rate of unemployment. Another importance also of agriculture is that it is a source of foreign exchange. Now, there's no economy that can function well without adequate foreign exchange. Foreign exchange is that the income gotten by the government from transaction with other countries. Now, if we can boost our agricultural sector by producing some of these cash crops that can be exported to other countries, it will help us in gaining a revenue for the development of the economy. Another importance is the generation of income for farmers. There are so many farmers that know what they are supposed to do. They have what it takes to produce agricultural products, but they are not being encouraged. Things are not being put in place. Facilities and other things are not in place for them to help them to carry out this assignment. Now, if the government can help in putting all these things in place, like the agricultural banks to help to give loans to farmers, it will help the farmers to be able to produce crops that can either be consumed within the country or exported to other countries. Finally, the last importance we are going to be looking at as the final importance for agriculture is the provision of raw materials for industries, which is similar to what we discussed under textile materials for textile production. Agriculture, like we said earlier, provides most of the raw materials we need for our industry. So this can also help in the industrial sector. Moving on to the next slide, where we have the problems of agricultural development in Nigeria. Now, under this slide, we are going to look at all the problems that are facing the agricultural sector in Nigeria, those things that are hindering the development of the economy due to the fact that we are not really focusing on the agricultural sector. The first problem that is facing the agricultural sector in Nigeria is the problem of diseases, pests and diseases. Now, most farmers are having difficulty handling this problem because it's either they are not educated or they do not know what kind of insecticide or pesticide they are supposed to use to control all these pests that are attacking their crops. So this is a major problem for them. We have farmers producing crops that end up being infested or being destroyed by so many pests and diseases. So this is a major problem facing agricultural development, and it will really help many farmers if the government can look into it and provide pesticides that the farmers can use in their farmland to boost production. The second problem we'll be looking at is inadequate finance or credit facilities. Like we said earlier in the previous slide, we said that the government will have to put facilities in place like an agricultural bank where farmers can go and get loans that will help them in carrying out whatever they need to do on their farmland. So this problem of inadequate finance is very detrimental to the development of agriculture in Nigeria, which has to be looked into to enable farmers to be able to get source of finance to help them to buy fertilizers, buy improved seedlings that they can use in production. The third problem we are going to be looking at is poor transportation system, which has to do with poor road network that is leading from the farmland to the point of storage or even the marketplace. There are most of the farmers are having their farmland located in the rural areas, and they will have to move their farm produce from such areas down to the marketplace. Now, if there is no adequate transportation system or road network that will enable them to transport such products down to the marketplace, it will affect such crops. So it will really help the agricultural sector if a proper transportation system is put in place to assist the farmers. The fourth problem is inadequate storage facilities. There are so many crops that will need to be stored for a later date, especially when they are not perishable goods. Perishable goods like tomato and the rest that cannot be left or stored for a longer period of time will have to be transported to the marketplace immediately. But there are so many crops like tubers of yam and other things that can be actually stored for a longer period of time. Now, if we do not have adequate storage facilities to store such products, it might end up creating a problem for the farmer, or rather to the farmer. The fifth problem is inadequate farm input. Now, there are so many farmers that are still using the crude implements in their farmland, like the hoe, the cutlass, and the rest. Meanwhile, so many developed countries have already gone beyond this stage. Nobody uses hoe and cutlass on their farmland anymore because most people are now into mechanized farming. So the government will have to look into this problem in creating improved farm implements that the farmers can use in the cultivation of their farmland. The next problem is the use of crude implement, which is related to the one just explained about inadequate farm inputs. Now, this crude implement, like I said earlier, will hinder the progress of farmers, which is a major problem to the agricultural sector. Finally, the last problem we're looking at is the illiteracy of farmers. There are so many farmers that only learned the farming procedure from probably someone in the family or their parents and so on, without really knowing what it takes to be a farmer. So this is a problem that will hinder adequate production. To solve this problem, the government will have to create facilities in place to educate farmers on what they need to do, how to use improved seedlings, how to make use of modern farming equipment instead of using the crude implements, how to make sure that the farming process is made easier for the farmers. Let's now move on to the next slide where we have ways of solving the agricultural problem. In the previous slide, we have seen the various agricultural problems facing agricultural development in Nigeria. Now, how do we solve these problems? When we're explaining the problems, we gave hints on ways that the government can help in solving this problem, but we are still going to explain it further on this slide. Now, the first way of solving the agricultural problems in Nigeria is the establishment of agricultural banks. This was said earlier, making sure that banks are put in place to help these farmers to get loans or other financial needs for them to carry out what they need to do on their farmland. Another way of solving the agricultural problem is the construction of roads, because we know that one of the problems facing farmers is bad roads or inadequate transportation system. So the construction of good roads is going to enable the government to solve that problem. Also, provision of storage facility can help to solve the problem of inadequate storage facilities for agricultural produce. If proper storage facilities are put in place to store the tubers of yam, rice, beans, and every other thing that can be stored for a longer period of time, it will really help the farmers in their farming process. Also, another method of solving the agricultural problem is the provision of farm inputs, like the improved seedlings that they can use to ensure better produce. So if this is provided to the farmers, it will go a long way to solve some of the agricultural problems facing farmers in Nigeria. Another way of solving the problem is provision of modern implements. Instead of farmers using hoes and cutlasses and other crude implements, if government can make sure that modern implements are put in place or are provided to farmers, it will really help them in carrying out their duties. Also, educating farmers on the use of modern implements and improved seeds can help to solve the problem of illiteracy of farmers and the use of crude implements. Finally, provision of pesticides. This can help to solve the problem of pests and diseases that farmers are facing. All right. The topic basically is divided into two parts. In the next class, we'll be looking at the marketing board and the other major programs, agricultural programs that have been initiated by the government of Nigeria to solve the agricultural problem facing Nigeria. So this is the first part of the topic, which has to do with the introductory part of agriculture. We've seen the meaning of agriculture, we've seen the system and the components of agriculture, the problems and the solutions to such problems. The assignment on these slides should be done and submitted as at when due. Now, if you have any question or any inquiry concerning any issue that has to do with the topic, please contact the school management on the website provided on the slide. And also remember to subscribe to this channel for more videos on this subject. Thank you.